Welcome to my channel Sci-Fi Love Story. Thanks for watching and please like and subscribe. The twin suns of Xyphera burned hot in the alien sky, casting long shadows across the jagged spires that marked the edges of the capital city. The air was heavy with a metallic tang, and the ground shook faintly with the footsteps of thousands of spectators converging toward the arena. This was no ordinary place, it was a coliseum of legend, where warriors came seeking glory, and too often, death. At the heart of the arena sat the great gates, blackened and scorched from centuries of ritual combat. Stories whispered across galaxies told of a single figure who dominated this place more than any other, Princess Lyara. She was young by alien standards, but already feared and revered. 500 suitors had entered her arena, each believing they could win her hand. 500 had fallen. Kai, a human from Earth, stood on a distant observation platform with the other spectators. He had been brought here against his will, or perhaps by fate, he wasn't entirely sure. One thing was clear, he was utterly out of place. His skin burned in the alien sun, his limbs were weak from travel, and his heart raced faster than he had ever experienced. Around him, aliens of all shapes and sizes whispered excitedly, some boasting, some nervous. 500 men and beasts, said one alien spectator, a towering reptilian with scales glinting like steel. None survived. You think the human has a chance? Kai swallowed hard, gripping the edge of the platform. I don't know, he whispered to himself. I just hope I survive. Below him, the arena floor was massive, a circular pit of sand like stone surrounded by steep walls where spectators leaned forward in anticipation. Weapons of all shapes glimmered under the suns. Blades that could bend light, spears that crackled with energy, whips that burned like fire. Yet even these marvels seemed insignificant next to Lyara herself. When she appeared, the crowd fell silent. Lyara descended from her throne, her long hair flowing like liquid silver. Her armor gleamed, adorned with symbols Kai could not understand, symbols that seemed to shift as he stared. Her eyes, cold and piercing, scanned the arena. She carried no weapon initially, yet there was no doubt in anyone's mind that she was deadly. Each movement was precise, deliberate, and terrifyingly fast. Kai felt a chill. He had read stories of her. Not one suitor had survived. He could feel the history of death in this arena. Bones of past challengers were scattered in hidden pits beneath the sand, collected as reminders. The legend said she fought not for sport but for judgment. Each suitor was tested. Only one with true courage or cunning could hope to live. A horn sounded, a low, vibrating blast that made Kai's chest tremble. From the side gates, the first suitors entered. Massive beings, far taller and stronger than Kai, marched confidently into the arena. One wielded a whip of energy, another carried a double-edged blade that shimmered like crystal. Each suitor glared at Lyara, trying to appear fearless, yet Kai could see doubt flicker in their eyes. The battle began immediately. Lyara moved like a shadow, fast and fluid. The first suitor lunged, aiming a strike at her head. In a blink, she sidestepped, twisted, and slammed his own weapon against him with bone-crushing force. The crowd gasped. Within seconds, the first suitor lay defeated, the life drained from him as the sand absorbed his final struggles. Kai's stomach churned. This was not a game. This was survival or death. The second suitor was faster, more cunning. He circled, trying to find a weakness in Lyara's stance. She reacted before he could strike, spinning with grace and precision, dodging and countering in a series of moves that seemed almost impossible. Within moments, he too was defeated. His scream echoed across the arena, leaving Kai frozen in horror and fascination. One by one, the suitors fell. Each combatant's attempt was met with Lyara's merciless skill. Yet she was not a mindless killer. Kai noticed subtle patterns, she tested them. She allowed a strike here, a feint there, watching, judging, and discarding anyone who failed to rise to her standard. She was both judge and executioner. Kai's turn seemed far away, yet he felt a creeping realization. The arena gates would not remain closed forever. Sooner or later, he would have to step inside. He tried to distract himself by observing the crowd. Spectators shouted, waved, and cheered for their favorites. Some bet entire fortunes on who would survive longest. Alien children, wide-eyed, clutched their parents' hands as they watched the spectacle. But Kai could not take his eyes off the arena floor. Every failed suitor was a warning. Every death a reminder. Time moved differently in the arena. Seconds felt like hours and hours like minutes. As the next suitor entered, Kai noticed Lyara's expression change slightly. A flicker of curiosity, or perhaps interest, crossed her face when she saw Kai. It was brief, almost imperceptible, but enough to make his heart jump. The suitor charged, but Kai could see the princess's movements were different this time. She was calculating, as if testing not just the alien but the human watching. Perhaps she sensed something in him. Fear, yes, but also determination. Even a small human could hold a heart that was not easily broken. Then the moment came. The horn sounded again, louder this time, echoing across the Colosseum wall. LLS. Kai felt a cold wave of dread. He was next. The doors at the far side of the arena creaked open. The crowd's roar intensified. Cameras, drones, and alien devices focused on him. There was no way to hide. Lyara's eyes locked onto him. The air seemed to freeze. For the first time, the princess paused before striking. The other suitors, or what remained of them, had no such hesitation. But Kai was not like the others. The crowd sensed it. Murmurs ran through the spectators. A human? In the arena? Against Lyara? Kai stepped forward, each footfall heavy with fear. Every muscle in his body screamed for him to run, to escape, to vanish. Yet he could not. He had to face this. Somehow, he had to survive. Lyara moved toward him, her steps deliberate. The ground beneath her feet seemed to hum with power. Kai noticed her hands were empty, no weapon, no shield. But he knew this was a mistake to underestimate. Her eyes glimmered with lethal intent. "You are the human," she said, her voice like steel and ice combined. "Do you understand what this means?" Kai nodded, barely able to speak. I have to try." "Good," she replied. "Then we begin." The arena fell silent for a moment. Then Lyara lunged. Kai stumbled back, barely avoiding her strike. The sheer speed of her attack nearly knocked him off his feet. He scrambled to his knees, his mind racing. There was no weapon. There was no hope in strength alone. He had to think. Lyara's strikes came again and again, each one testing his reactions. Kai ducked, rolled, and dodged, barely escaping death. The crowd watched in awe. No human had ever lasted more than a few seconds. Yet here he was, moving with a combination of fear, instinct, and raw determination. Minutes, or was it seconds, passed. Kai's body ached. His breathing was ragged. He had no idea how long he could last. But something inside him refused to give up. Each time Lyara attacked, he learned. Each move she made, he remembered. Lyara's eyes softened slightly, not mercy, but recognition. This human was unlike the others. He was alive not because of luck, but because of courage, wit, and a will to survive that she had never seen in a suitor before. Then, a hush fell over the arena. Lyara stepped back, studying Kai. The crowd leaned forward, holding their breath. The next strike, the next decision, could mean life or death. Kai realized the truth. Survival was not about strength. It was about understanding her, predicting her, and finding a way to endure. The horn sounded again, but this time it was not for a new challenger. It was for Kai. The gates at the far side of the arena began to close. There was no turning back. Kai's heart pounded in his chest. Every instinct screamed to run. Yet he stood tall, or as tall as a terrified human kid, in. D faced the princess. The audience roared, the suns burned, and the shadows of history seemed to press down upon him. Lyara's lips curved in a slight, almost imperceptible smile. For the first time, she seemed intrigued, curious, perhaps even impressed. Kai swallowed hard, raised his fists, and prepared for the impossible. The arena gates slammed shut. The first part of his trial was over, but the real challenge was just beginning. The gates slammed shut behind him, and Kai felt the oppressive silence of the arena close in. His chest heaved with exhaustion, yet there was no time to rest. He was the 501st challenger, a human facing a princess who had never known defeat. Every fiber of his body screamed for escape, but he could not run. There was only one way out: survive. Lyara stood before him, her figure both terrifying and magnificent. The glow of her armor reflected the twin suns of Xyphera, and her eyes, cold and calculating, never left him. For the first time, she seemed curious, almost interested. "You have survived longer than I expected," she said, her voice calm but firm. "That is impressive for a human. But do not think this spares you." Kai swallowed hard. He knew he was weak compared to her. Every suitor before him had fallen in seconds. But something inside him refused to give in. Fear was strong, yes, but determination burned stronger. Lyara raised her arms, and the arena seemed to shift. Stone walls bent slightly, energy crackled along the sand floor, and traps hidden in the arena began to glow. This was no ordinary fight. This was a test of mind, courage, and adaptability. Kai's mind raced. He had no weapon, no armor, no strength to match hers. But he had something no other suitor had: ingenuity. His mentor from Earth had taught him one principle: survive by thinking faster than the enemy. Lyara charged. The sound of her feet was like thunder, the air before her twisting from the sheer force of her movement. Kai ducked, rolled, and barely avoided her strike. A massive claw swiped inches from his head, sending sand flying into his eyes. He coughed, wiped it away, and noticed something. Her attacks, while fast and deadly, were patterned. He remembered the tip his mentor had given him: watch your enemy. Learn their rhythm. Strike when they pause. Kai's fingers brushed against a loose shard of stone on the arena floor. He picked it up, a crude weapon at best, but enough to distract. Lyara struck again. He dodged, rolled under her leg, and threw the shard, grazing her armor. It wasn't much, but it was enough to make her pause, ever so slightly. The crowd roared. No human had lasted this long. Some whispered in disbelief. Others cheered, sensing a shift in the ancient pattern of the arena. Lyara's eyes narrowed. She had never faced a suitor who moved not out of fear alone, but with purpose. Each dodge, each roll, each feint told her something about this human. He was not strong, but he was clever. He was not fearless, but he refused to break. Kai noticed a series of glowing symbols along the arena walls, traps designed to test suitors. Each one pulsed with energy, ready to strike. In a sudden moment of inspiration, he darted toward the nearest symbol. Lyara lunged after him, but he managed to trigger the trap in her path, releasing a burst of energy that forced her to leap back. Interesting, she muttered under her breath. Very interesting. The fight continued, each moment more intense than the last. Lyara's strikes were lightning fast, but Kai's mind worked faster. He used the arena to his advantage, ducking under beams of energy, sidestepping spinning blades, and forcing Lyara to move around him rather than through him. Each time she attacked, she learned that he was not just surviving, he was adapting. Minutes, or maybe hours, passed in a blur of movement and strategy. Kai's body ached, muscles burned, and sweat stung his eyes. Yet he continued. His survival depended not on strength, but on wit, observation, and courage. The crowd leaned forward as Lyara began to smile faintly. This was new. She had never smiled mid-combat. Her strikes became more controlled, more deliberate, testing him not to kill but to challenge him. Kai realized something important. Lyara was not just fighting for sport. She was searching for something only a suitor with courage, intelligence, and heart could possess. He had to prove he was worthy, not by winning outright, but by enduring, learning, and never giving up. Then came the moment that would change everything. Lyara executed a strike that seemed impossible to evade. Her blade sliced the air where Kai had been standing a second ago. He rolled instinctively, but instead of continuing to flee, he grabbed a fragment of her blade as it passed and twisted it against the stone floor. Sparks flew, and Lyara stumbled slightly. The arena erupted in stunned silence. No human had ever touched her weapon in combat. She froze, staring at Kai with eyes wide for the first time. You are different," she said, almost whispering. "No one has ever lasted this long. No one has ever forced me to hesitate." Kai's chest heaved. He was terrified, but he felt a surge of confidence. He had made her pause. He had survived where others had failed. The impossible seemed just a little more possible. Lyara recovered instantly, her expression now a mix of amusement and respect. "Very well," she said. "Let us end this, not in death, but in understanding. Show me what a human can do." Kai nodded, unsure what she meant, but willing to follow. He studied her movements carefully, predicting strikes, dodging with precision, and using the environment to create openings. He was no longer merely surviving. He was fighting with strategy, forcing Lyara to adapt as much as he had. The crowd watched in awe. The energy of the arena shifted from anticipation of death to thrill of the unknown. Never before had a suitor endured this long, never before had the princess been challenged so effectively. Lyara moved with incredible speed, aiming to test his resolve rather than kill him outright. Kai dodged, rolled, and ducked again, feeling a strange connection forming, a mutual recognition of skill and courage. Then, Kai noticed a subtle weakness in her pattern. Every few strikes, Lyara left a tiny opening, a hesitation just long enough for him to act. Using his last reserves of energy, Kai feinted an attack, drawing her into overextending. She struck, expecting him to dodge, but he countered, stepping aside and guiding her motion past him. For a split second, the arena was perfectly still. Lyara stopped. Her eyes scanned him, searching for fear, for weakness. But she found none. Instead, she saw determination, resilience, and courage, the qualities of a true warrior. She smiled fully this time, a rare and radiant expression that lit the arena. "You have done what no other has," she said softly. "You have survived, not by strength alone, but by spirit. You have earned my respect." Kai fell to his knees, exhausted beyond words. He had faced the impossible and survived. The crowd erupted, their cheers shaking the very walls of the arena. Aliens of all species rose to their feet, applauding the human who had challenged tradition and lived. Lyara extended a hand, helping him to stand. "You are not like the others," she said. "You are not just a suitor. You are a human worthy of trust and respect." Kai looked into her eyes, seeing a depth of emotion he had never expected. There was admiration, curiosity, and perhaps the faintest hint of friendship. For the first time, the deadly ritual had ended without death. The horn sounded one final time, signaling the end of the combat. The gates of the arena opened, and Kai stepped out, a hero among humans and aliens alike. He had done what no one thought possible. He had faced the princess, survived, and earned her respect. As he looked back at the arena, Kai realized that this was only the beginning. Lyara approached him, her steps measured, her expression unreadable. "You have survived today," she said. "But the galaxy is vast, and its challenges are many. Perhaps we will meet again." Kai nodded, unsure what lay ahead but feeling a sense of pride and accomplishment. He had faced the impossible, endured the impossible, and had come out alive. The legend of the human Ho survived the arena of Princess Lyara would be told for generations. The sons of Xyphera sat behind the jagged spires, casting long shadows across the arena floor. Kai felt the weight of history, the thrill of survival, and the quiet pride of having changed the rules of a centuries-old ritual. For the first time, he felt truly alive. And somewhere in the crowd, Lyara watched him with a thoughtful expression, already considering what challenges this remarkable human might face next. The arena, once a place of death and despair, had witnessed something extraordinary, the triumph of courage, intelligence, and spirit over fear and tradition. Kai had not just survived. He had changed the game forever. End.